She said her father was dead. I didn't argue. I just arrived in a tailored suit and watched her face fall apart. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write in the comments, where are you listening from? I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. The call came through on speaker. My daughter Ashley's voice, that practiced brightness she uses for her country club friends. I was in the garage, organizing tools I'd used to rebuild her deck last summer. The phone sat on the workbench, forgotten after our earlier conversation about wedding centerpieces. Your father's attending, right? The other woman's voice carried that curious lilt people use when they're fishing for gossip. Silence. Just long enough to make my hands stop moving. Actually, he passed away 2 years ago. Ashley's tone shifted to something softer, rehearsed. Sudden heart attack. We don't really talk about it. The screwdriver I was holding clattered against the concrete floor. Oh my God, Ash, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. It's fine, really. We've made peace with it. That's why it's just Mom walking me down the aisle. Well, Mom and Richard, her fiancé's father, investment banker, country club board member, the man who, 3 weeks earlier, had asked me during a tense dinner if I'd ever considered upgrading from my landscaping business to something more professional. I stood there in my garage, surrounded by tools I'd collected over 43 years of building and fixing and creating, and listened to my daughter erase me. That's so beautiful that Richard stepped up, the friend continued. He seems like such a class act. He really is. And honestly, it's better this way. Less complicated. Less complicated. I picked up the phone very carefully, ended the call, set it back down. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected shaking, maybe rage. Instead, there was just this crystalline clarity, cold and sharp as January air. The wedding was in 6 weeks. Invitations already sent. 240 guests, according to the spreadsheet Ashley had shared with me months ago, when she still acknowledged my existence. The venue was Riverside Estate, 45 minutes north. I knew because I'd helped her tour locations, offered to contribute what I could. She'd smiled that day, hugged me, said, "Dad, you're the best." That was 4 months ago. I walked back into my house, the house I'd bought 32 years ago for $68,000, the house I'd expanded and renovated and maintained myself. Every tile in the kitchen backsplash, every shelf in the custom library, the deck, the fence, the garden beds. My late wife Maria's photo smiled at me from the mantel. She'd been gone 7 years now. Cancer, the aggressive kind that doesn't negotiate. What would you do? I asked her picture, but I already knew. Maria had been a teacher, patient and fair, but she had zero tolerance for cruelty disguised as convenience. She'd taught our daughter to face consequences, to choose honesty over comfort. Apparently that lesson hadn't stuck. I made coffee. Strong, black, the way I'd learned to drink it during night shifts, putting myself through trade school while Maria finished her degree. We'd been 22, broke, stupidly in love. The numbers came to me unbidden, the way they do when you've been cataloging your life in spreadsheets and receipts. $47,000 for Ashley's undergrad at State. We'd been outside the financial aid bracket by just enough to disqualify her, but not enough to make it easy. $32,000 for the wedding itself. Ashley had shown me the budget, asked if I could chip in. I'd liquidated a retirement account, paid the penalty. She'd cried and called me her hero. $19,000 for her first car, the safe one with good crash ratings, because Maria and I had nightmares about teenage drivers. Uncountable hours, teaching her to ride a bike, to change a tire to balance a checkbook, weekends at soccer games, dance recitals, debate tournaments. The time I drove 8 hours round trip to pick her up from college when she called crying about a bad breakup. Less complicated. My phone buzzed. Text from Ashley. Dad, did you pick up earlier? Think my call dropped. Can you grab tablecloths from the rental place Thursday? I stared at the message, watched the little dots appear and disappear as she typed something else, then changed her mind. Another text. Also, reminder that rehearsal dinner dress code is formal. Your navy suit should work. The navy suit I'd bought specifically for her engagement party. The one she'd helped me pick out, insisting I needed something that photographs well. I set the phone down, opened my laptop, started searching. First, Riverside Estates event policies, cancellation terms, guest list management protocols. Second, property records. The house, my house, was titled solely in my name. Maria and I had meant to update things after she got sick, but then everything happened so fast. Ashley was listed as beneficiary on my life insurance, my retirement accounts. My will left everything to her. Everything. Third, wedding vendors. I still had the spreadsheet Ashley had shared. Catering, photography, floristry, music, every contract, every point of contact. The coffee had gone cold. I drank it anyway. My neighbor Frank knocked around 6. We had a standing Wednesday dinner arrangement, trading off cooking duties. His wife had left him 3 years back, and we'd discovered a mutual appreciation for bourbon and honesty. You look like hell, he said, setting a casserole dish on my counter. What happened? I told him. All of it. The overheard call, the erasure, the casual cruelty of less complicated. Frank was quiet for a long time. He'd been a litigation attorney before retiring, the kind who'd seen every flavor of family dysfunction. What are you going to do? He finally asked. I'm going to attend my daughter's wedding. She uninvited you. No, I poured us both drinks. She killed me. There's a difference. Frank's eyebrow went up. Explain. If I'm uninvited, I'm the wronged party making a scene. If I'm dead, and I show up anyway, she's the liar caught in front of everyone who matters to her. That's cold, Tom. That's accurate. We ate in silence. Frank's chicken parmesan, Maria's old recipe that I'd taught him. The irony wasn't lost on me. Men teaching each other how to nurture, how to feed, how to maintain the dailiness of living. You could just talk to her, Frank offered. Tell her you heard. Give her a chance to explain. She's had 4 months to include me, Frank. 4 months of planning while slowly editing me out. This wasn't impulse. This was strategy. He couldn't argue with that. After he left, I returned to my laptop, opened a folder I hadn't touched in years. Ashley's childhood. Photos, report cards, handmade Father's Day cards with crayon drawings, and misspelled declarations of love. A video from her 8th birthday where she'd insisted I wear a princess crown while we ate cake. You're the best daddy in the whole world, her little voice said from my speakers. I closed the laptop. The next morning, I called the one person who'd understand. Tom? My sister Linda answered on the second ring. It's 6 in the morning, Ashley told people. I'm dead. Silence. Then, what? I explained. Linda listened without interrupting, a skill she'd honed raising 4 kids and managing a chaotic veterinary practice. When I finished, she said, I'm driving up. You don't have to. The hell I don't. I'm her godmother, and I'm your sister. I'll be there by noon. She made it in 3 hours, walked into my house with grocery bags and fury in her eyes. Where is she? Linda demanded. I'll drive over there right now. No. I took the bags, started unpacking. That's not how this works. Then how does it work, Tom? Because from where I'm standing, your daughter committed murder without the courtesy of a funeral. She gets to choose her wedding guests. That's her right. Don't you dare defend her. I'm not defending her. I met her eyes. I'm just recognizing that forcing myself where I'm not wanted makes me the villain, but appearing where she claimed I couldn't, that's different. Linda studied me. You're planning something. I'm planning to exist. That's semantics. That's survival. We spent the day like we used to when we were kids, cooking, talking, not talking. Linda had our mother's gift for presence without pressure. She knew when to push and when to just be. Around sunset, Ashley called. I let it go to voicemail. Hey Dad, just confirming you got my text about the tablecloths? Also, I was thinking maybe you could not wear that flannel cologne to the wedding? Richard's family is pretty particular about scents. Something subtle would be better. Love you. Bye. Linda listened to the message, her jaw tightening. Flannel cologne, she repeated. The one Maria bought you for your 20th anniversary. The same. She knows that. She knows that. Linda's knuckles were white around her wine glass. When did she become this person? That was the question, wasn't it? I'd been asking myself for months, watching my daughter transform from the thoughtful, goofy kid who used to help me in the workshop to this polished stranger who spoke in euphemisms and managed people like spreadsheet entries. Richard, I said quietly. Or maybe not Richard himself. Maybe what he represents. Access, status, a world that doesn't include men who work with their hands. Your hands built her entire childhood, and now they're an embarrassment. The word hung between us. Embarrassment. That's what this was really about. Not anger, not conflict, just shame. I wasn't successful enough, refined enough, impressive enough for the life she was building. I'd become inconvenient. Linda stayed 3 days. On the morning she left, she hugged me hard. You're a better man than I am, she said. I'd burn the whole thing down. Maybe I am, I replied, just slower. After she left, I made a list. Not of grievances, I wasn't interested in scorekeeping, but of facts. Things that could be verified, documented, proven. The financial contributions. I had every receipt, every bank transfer, every cleared check, the property deed, my name, my house, my equity built over 3 decades, the will and beneficiary designations. Everything to Ashley, because parents don't expect to outlive their children's gratitude. The wedding contracts. Somehow I was still listed as primary contact on 3 of them. An oversight on Ashley's part, probably. Or maybe she'd kept me on the paperwork while erasing me from the narrative. I spent a week making calls, quiet ones, confirming details, establishing my continued existence, with vendors who'd been told, through careful implication, that I was no longer involved. Oh, Mr. Harrison, the florist said when I called. Ashley said you'd been having health troubles. I'm so glad you're feeling better. Health troubles. The story was evolving. Just checking on the delivery schedule, I said pleasantly. Want to make sure everything's perfect for my daughter's big day. Of course. Your contribution has been so generous. She's lucky to have a father like you. I thanked her and hung up. Each call revealed a slightly different story. To the caterer, I'd been overwhelmed with work. To the photographer, I was dealing with family issues out of state. To the venue coordinator, I'd simply stepped back to let her mother take the lead. Death by 1,000 qualifications. Nobody had actually been told I was dead except Ashley's social circle. The vendors just knew I was absent, fading, becoming less relevant with each conversation that didn't include me. It was almost elegant in its cruelty. The wedding invitation arrived in my mailbox 4 weeks before the event. Cream cardstock, elegant script, my name nowhere on it. The envelope was addressed to the Harrison residence, not to me personally. Inside, a note in Ashley's handwriting. Dad, extra copy for your records. See you there. XO. The cognitive dissonance was remarkable. In one context, I was dead. In another, I was expected to attend, stay quiet, know my place. I RSVP'd, yes. That night, Richard's father called me. Tom, it's Weston Chambers. Have a minute? I settled into my chair. Of course. Listen, I wanted to touch base about the wedding. Ashley mentioned you're planning to attend, and I think that's wonderful. But I wanted to discuss logistics. Logistics. The processional. Specifically. Sarah, Ashley's mother, and I have been coordinating, and we think it would be most meaningful if I escort Ashley down the aisle. Given my relationship with Richard, the symbolism is powerful. I'm sure you understand. I understood perfectly. And what role did you have in mind for me? Well, you're still her father, of course. We thought perhaps you could do a reading. Something from Corinthians, maybe. Sarah can send you options. How thoughtful. I knew you'd get it. You're a reasonable man, Tom. Not everyone would be so gracious about stepping back. Stepping back, as if this were my choice, my preference. Weston, I have a question. Sure, shoot. Has Ashley told you why her father isn't walking her down the aisle? Pause. Brief. But there. She said you'd agreed this arrangement worked better for everyone. Did she? Tom, if there's some kind of issue, no issue. Just clarifying the narrative. Thank you for the call. I hung up before he could respond. An hour later, Ashley called. I answered. Dad, what the hell? Weston said, you were weird on the phone. I asked him a question. What question? Why I'm not walking you down the aisle. Silence. Long enough to hear her breathing change. Dad, we talked about this. You said you understood. Remind me what I understood. That it was complicated. That Richard's family has expectations. That we needed to be diplomatic. I said that? You, her voice caught. You didn't object. That's different than agreeing, Ashley. Oh my God. Are you seriously going to make this difficult? 3 weeks before my wedding? I'm not making anything difficult. I'm attending my daughter's wedding as invited. I'll sit where you seat me. Smile for photos if you want them. I'm just curious about the story you're telling people. What story? About where I am. What happened to me? Why, I'm not part of your processional. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice had that dangerous calmness, the tone she'd learned from her mother during arguments. If you have something to say, just say it. I heard you on the phone, Ashley, 4 weeks ago, telling your friend I was dead. The silence that followed was absolute. I could picture her face, the calculation happening behind her eyes. Dad, that was taken out of context. What context makes that statement acceptable? She was being nosy about why you weren't walking me down the aisle. I panicked. I said something stupid. It didn't mean anything. You told multiple people, Ashley. I checked. The story's consistent. You checked? What are you investigating me? I'm verifying my existence. Apparently that's necessary. This is insane. You're making this into some huge thing when it's just It was just easier than explaining. Explaining what? Her voice broke. That you don't fit, okay? That Richard's family has standards and expectations, and you show up in work boots with sawdust in your hair, and you talk about lumber prices, and you don't understand the difference between a salad fork and a dessert fork, and I can't keep translating you to people who matter. There it was. The truth, ugly and honest. People who matter, I repeated. You know what I mean. I really don't, Ashley. Dad, please, can we not do this? Can you just show up, be nice? Let me have one perfect day? After everything I've dealt with, is that too much to ask? Everything she dealt with, the ungrateful daughter's battle cry. I'll be there, I said. Don't worry. Thank you, God, thank you. And Dad, maybe just tone it down? For me, tone what down? Just be subtle. Blend in. Richard's family is going to be judging everything, and I need this to go smoothly. I'll blend. I promised. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Frank came over around 10, let himself in with the key I'd given him. You're sitting in the dark, he observed. Seemed appropriate. He turned on a lamp, handed me a beer. Ashley? He asked. Ashley. Bad? Honest, actually. That's worse. I told him about the call. Every word. Frank listened, his lawyer face settling into place, neutral, analytical. When I finished, he said, You're still going. I'm still going. To prove what? That I exist. That I matter. That you can't delete people because they're inconvenient. Tom, Frank leaned forward, what do you actually want out of this? Reconciliation? Revenge? Public vindication? I want her to see me. She sees you. That's the problem. He was right, of course. Ashley saw exactly who I was. A working-class man who'd given her everything, and somehow still wasn't enough. Then I want everyone else to see her, I said quietly. Frank nodded slowly. Now we're getting somewhere. The next 2 weeks were meticulous. I'd learned precision from carpentry, measured twice, cut once. The same principle applied here. I bought a new suit, not the navy one Ashley had approved, but something better. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, expensive enough to communicate respect without trying too hard. The tailor was an old friend who'd emigrated from Italy 40 years ago, built a small empire of custom clothing. You look good, Marco said at the final fitting. Important occasion? My daughter's wedding. Ah, Mazel Tov. She's lucky. I didn't correct him. I got a haircut from my regular barber, Tony, who'd been cutting my hair for 20 years. He knew to keep it neat but natural, not trying to make me into something I wasn't. Big day? He asked, same as he always did. The biggest, I replied. I practiced my expressions in the mirror, not angry, not wounded, just present, dignified. A man who belonged wherever he stood. Maria would have laughed at me. You're rehearsing your face, she'd say. But Maria had also understood that sometimes survival required performance. 1 week before the wedding, Ashley sent a group text to me, her mother, Sarah, and several people I didn't recognize. Final logistics. Ceremony at 4 p.m. sharp. Family photos at 3:15. Dad, you're in the extended family shots, not the immediate ones. Mom, you're in everything. Can't wait to see everyone. Extended family. Like I was an uncle, a cousin, someone peripheral. Sarah called me an hour later. Tom, I'm sorry about the text. Don't be. It's clear. It's not right. Sarah and I had divorced when Ashley was 12. Not because of infidelity or cruelty, just the slow erosion of compatibility. We'd stayed friendly, united in raising our daughter. She'd remarried 5 years ago to a gentle accountant named Paul who treated Ashley like his own. "How are you handling this?" I asked her. "I hate it," she said bluntly. "I've tried talking to her. She shuts down. Says I don't understand the pressure she's under. Do you? I understand that Richard's family has money and influence, and Ashley sees that as her ticket to something bigger. I don't understand why that requires erasing you." "Fear," I said, "that I'll embarrass her, that I'll say the wrong thing or wear the wrong clothes, or remind everyone she came from regular people. You built her entire life with the wrong tools, apparently." Sarah was quiet. Then, "Are you okay?" "Really?" "No," I admitted, "but I'm functional." "That's not the same thing." "It'll have to do." The day before the wedding, I drove to Riverside Estate, told them I was doing a final walkthrough as father of the bride. The coordinator, a woman named Jennifer who I'd met during the booking appointment, greeted me warmly. "Mr. Harrison, so good to see you. Ashley's been here twice this week, fine-tuning everything. She's so detail-oriented." "She is that." Jennifer walked me through the space. The ceremony would be in the garden, reception in the ballroom. Everything was white and gold, elegant and impersonal. "It's going to be beautiful," Jennifer said. "Your daughter has exquisite taste." "She does." I paused. I wanted to confirm the seating arrangements. "Where am I placed?" Jennifer consulted her tablet. "Table 14. That's near the back, but you'll still have a great view of the dance floor." Table 14. I'd paid for half this wedding, and I was seated in the overflow section. "Perfect," I said. That evening, I had dinner with Linda, Frank, and my cousin Marcus, who'd driven in from Ohio. Marcus was a professor of sociology, brilliant and observant. "So, you're going to attend your own funeral," Marcus said, pouring wine. "That's one way to put it. It's actually fascinating from a social dynamics perspective. The family as performance, reputation as currency. Your daughter is managing her social capital by controlling the narrative about her origins." "English, Marcus," Linda said. "She's ashamed of him, so she's writing him out of the script. We got that part." Marcus turned to me. "What's your objective, Tom?" "Real talk. I want to exist in the space," she said. "I couldn't. That's presence, not objective. What happens after you're present?" I considered this. "Truth. I want the truth visible." "Whose truth?" "All of it. Mine, hers, the contracts and costs and contributions. I want the math in the light." Marcus smiled. "Now that's interesting." We talked until midnight, strategizing like generals before battle. Not about revenge, none of us wanted that, but about presence, documentation, dignity. How to be unavoidably real in a space designed around your absence. Frank, ever the lawyer, kept pushing. "What if she asks you to leave?" "I'll leave." "What if she makes a scene?" "That's her choice." "What if Richard's family confronts you?" "I'll be polite." "What if you get there and realize this is all a mistake, that you're hurting more than helping?" I met his eyes. "Then I'll live with that, but at least I'll have lived." The morning of the wedding, I woke at dawn, showered, shaved carefully, put on the new suit, the Italian leather shoes Marco had recommended, looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like a man who belonged in nice places, like someone worth including. Maria's photo caught my eye. "Wish me luck," I told her. I imagined her response. "You don't need luck. You need courage. And you've always had that." I arrived at Riverside Estate at 3 o'clock. Early enough to seem eager, not so early as to appear desperate. The parking lot was already half full. Teslas, Mercedes, a few Porsches. I parked my 5-year-old truck next to a Maserati and didn't flinch. Inside, controlled chaos. Wedding coordinator shouting gentle commands, bridesmaids in champagne-colored dresses clustered near the bridal suite, groomsmen in charcoal tuxes that matched my suit. Nobody stopped me. Nobody questioned my presence. I was dressed well enough to pass. I found my seat at table 14, far enough from the front to be insulting, close enough that people would see me. The table was occupied by distant relatives, second cousins, great-aunts, people who attended weddings out of obligation. They greeted me politely, asked how I knew the couple. "I'm Ashley's father," I said simply. Confusion rippled across faces. One elderly woman actually gasped. "But I thought," she started, then stopped. "Thought what?" "Nothing. Never mind. Congratulations." The ceremony started at 4. I stood when everyone stood, sat when they sat, watched my daughter walk down the aisle on Weston Chambers' arm, her dress a cascade of silk and lace. She looked beautiful, radiant, happy. She looked like a stranger. The officiant spoke about love, partnership, family, mentioned how grateful we all were to witness this union, how Ashley and Richard were blessed to have such supportive families. Supportive. The word echoed. When the ceremony ended, the crowd moved to the cocktail hour. I stayed in my seat for a moment, letting the garden empty. A photographer approached. "Sir, I need to clear the space for family photos." "Of course." I stood, started walking toward the exit. Then I heard, "Dad?" Ashley's voice, small, shocked. I turned. She stood 15 feet away, still in her dress. Weston beside her, looking confused. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. "Attending my daughter's wedding, as invited." We didn't." She looked at Weston, at her new husband, approaching from behind her. "This isn't the time. When is?" "Dad, please, just go. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll talk. I'd like to stay for dinner. I paid for most of it." Her face went white, then red. Richard reached her side, his expression shifting from confused to hostile. "Is there a problem?" Richard asked, his voice tight. "Richard, this is my father, Tom. Dad, this as well. You know." Richard's eyes narrowed. "I thought you were dead?" I supplied helpfully. "Common misconception." Ashley made a small sound, somewhere between a gasp and a whimper. Weston stepped forward, all practiced charm. "Tom, wonderful to see you. Didn't realize you'd be joining us for the reception. I think there might have been a seating mix-up. Table 14, I confirmed yesterday." "Right. Of course. Well, we should probably get to those family photos." "Ashley, sweetheart, your mother's waiting." Ashley looked between us, her face a mask of panic. "Dad, just please don't do this." "Do what?" "Exist?" Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones, I thought. Or maybe just the stress of maintaining the performance. "We'll talk later," she said, then turned and walked away, Richard's hand on her back, Weston guiding them toward the photographer. I made my way to cocktail hour, accepted a glass of champagne from a passing server, found a corner where I could observe without intruding. People stared, whispered. I caught fragments of conversation, thought he was gone. Awkward. She clearly didn't want. Brave of him to show up anyway. Linda found me 10 minutes later. She'd been invited. One of the few family members Ashley hadn't. Edited out. You made it, she said, squeezing my arm. I made it. How do you feel? Like a ghost at my own daughter's wedding. That's because she tried to make you one. We stood together, watching the celebration swirl around us. Ashley and Richard moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations, posing for photos. She was good at this, I realized. The performance of joy, of gratitude, of having everything she'd ever wanted. Maybe she did have everything she wanted. Maybe that was the whole problem. Dinner was announced. We found our table. The elderly relatives who'd been so confused earlier now studied me with something like pity. Your daughter is lovely, one said carefully. Thank you. You must be very proud. I considered this. Proud of what? Her beauty? Her wedding planning skills? Her ability to delete inconvenient people? I am, I said, because what else do you say? The meal was excellent. Filet mignon, roasted vegetables, some kind of potato thing with truffle oil. I recognized it from the catering menu I'd helped approve 6 months ago. Speeches started with dessert. Weston went first, talking about Richard's character, his accomplishments, his bright future. Then Sarah, Ashley's mother, spoke about watching her daughter grow into a confident woman. Mentioned me briefly. Ashley's father, Tom, couldn't be here for parts of the planning, but his support has been unwavering. Couldn't be here. The lie was evolving in real time. Then Richard stood, thanked everyone, called Ashley the love of his life, mentioned his gratitude to both families for their support and welcome. Both families, plural, but somehow I wasn't included in the count. Ashley spoke last, talked about love, about finding her person, about building a future, thanked her mother profusely, thanked Weston for stepping in when we needed guidance, thanked the wedding party, the vendors, the guests, never said my name. I waited. When she finished, right as everyone began to applaud, I stood. The room didn't go silent, that's movie nonsense. But attention shifted. Heads turned. Ashley's eyes found mine, wide with horror. I raised my glass. A toast, I said quietly. But the room was acoustically designed for events, and my voice carried. To my daughter Ashley, murmurs, confusion. Some guests raised their glasses uncertainly. 32 years ago, I became a father. It was the most terrifying and joyful moment of my life. I promised myself I'd give my daughter everything, every opportunity, every advantage, every ounce of love and support I had. Ashley was shaking her head slightly. Richard had half risen from his seat. I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for college, liquidated retirement accounts for this wedding, built her nursery, her treehouse, the deck where she had her sweet 16 party. I taught her to drive, to change a tire, to balance a checkbook. I was at every recital, every game, every parent-teacher conference. I showed up, always. My voice was steady, calm, not angry, just factual. And tonight, I discovered I've been erased. That it was easier to tell people I was dead than to explain that I'm a landscaper. That I don't fit the image of the family she's building. Dad, stop. Ashley's voice cracked. Please, stop. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because I'm not dead. Because I loved you enough to give you everything, and you loved me enough to erase me. I hope you're happy, Ashley. I really do. I hope this life you're building is worth what you sacrificed to create it. I set my glass down, looked at my daughter, really looked at her. You didn't lose me, sweetheart. You gave me away. Then I walked out. Behind me, chaos erupted. Voices, shouting, the scrape of chairs. I didn't look back. Linda caught up with me in the parking lot. That was, she started. Too much? Perfect. I doubt Ashley agrees. Ashley's in there realizing 200 people just learned. She's a liar. Let her sit with that. We stood by my truck. The evening air was cool, clear. I could hear music starting up in the ballroom, the first dance probably. My phone buzzed. Text from Ashley. How could you do this to me? Not, I'm sorry I erased you. Not, I was wrong. Just, how could you? I didn't respond. Linda hugged me. You need anything? To go home? Then go home. I'll handle the fallout. I drove back in silence. Let myself into my empty house. Changed out of the expensive suit. Put on jeans and a flannel shirt, the ones Ashley had hated. Poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon. Sat on the deck I'd built with my own hands. My phone rang every 10 minutes. Ashley? Sarah? Numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. Around midnight, I listened to the messages. You ruined my wedding. You humiliated me in front of everyone. I will never forgive you. Sarah. Tom, call me. She's hysterical. We need to talk. Weston. That was completely inappropriate. You owe my son's family an apology. Stay away from my wife. And then last, Linda. Hey, people are talking. It's bad. But Tom, you told the truth. That's all you did. The rest is on her. Get some sleep. I love you. I sat on my deck until dawn, watching the sky change colors. The next days were a blur of silence. No calls, no texts, just me and my house and the work I'd been neglecting. I threw myself into projects, fixed Mrs. Chen's fence, retiled the bathroom, reorganized my workshop. Physical work, tangible results, things I could control. Frank came by regularly, brought food, sat with me, didn't require conversation. On day 5, Sarah showed up. You look terrible, she said. Feel worse. She came in without asking, made coffee like she still lived here. Ashley's not talking to anyone, she said. She and Richard left for their honeymoon early. Won't return calls. That's probably smart. Tom, what you said was true, was cruel. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Sarah sat across from me, her face weary. She called me, crying. Said she can't show her face at the country club, that Richard's family is furious, that you destroyed her reputation. I told the truth, Sarah. That's all. You told it in front of 200 people. She erased me in front of those same 200 people. I just made the erasure visible. Sarah shook her head. Do you feel better, now that you've had your moment? I considered this honestly. No, I feel exactly the same. Except now, she knows I know. What do you want, Tom? Really? Because if it's reconciliation, this isn't the path. I don't know what I want. For a long time, I thought I wanted her to see me, to value what I'd given her. Now I think maybe I just wanted to stop disappearing. You're not disappearing. I was. Slowly. Every conversation where she edited me out, every story where I became less relevant. I was fading. The wedding was just the final draft. Sarah was crying now, quietly. She's not a bad person. I didn't say she was, but she made a bad choice. And choices have consequences. She's your daughter. She was my daughter. Now I'm not sure what we are. 3 weeks passed. Then a letter arrived. Handwritten. Ashley's careful script on expensive stationery. Dad, I don't know how to start this. I've written and rewritten this letter a dozen times. You're right. About all of it, I erased you. I told people you were dead because it was easier than explaining that my father wasn't the kind of father Richard's family expected. That's disgusting. I see that now. I wish I could say I didn't mean it, that it was just wedding stress. But we both know that's not true. I made choices over months to edit you out of my life. Not because you're a bad father, because I was a coward. Richard's family, they have expectations, standards, ways of being that felt so important. And I wanted to fit in so badly that I was willing to sacrifice anything, including you. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know if I'd forgive me. But I need you to know, you were the best father. You gave me everything, and I repaid that by making you into a ghost. I'm so sorry. I don't know if we can fix this. I don't even know if you want to try. But if you do, I'm here. I'm ready to listen, to really see you, to remember who I used to be before I became this person. I love you, Dad, even though I did a terrible job showing it. Ashley, I read it 3 times, felt the weight of her words, the genuine regret. But regret isn't the same as change. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called Marcus, the sociology professor. Read me something, I said after explaining. He listened to the letter over the phone, was quiet for a long moment. It's a good apology, he said finally. Self-aware, takes responsibility, doesn't make excuses. But it doesn't outline any concrete change. It's acknowledgement without action. The question is whether you want acknowledgement or transformation. What's the difference? Acknowledgement is, I see what I did wrong. Transformation is, here's how I'm going to be different. One is about feeling. The other is about behavior. You think she'll actually change? I think she's scared. Whether that fear translates to growth or just better performance. That's up to her. I thanked him and hung up. That evening, I wrote back, Ashley, thank you for your letter. I believe you're sorry. I believe you see what you did. Here's what I need you to understand. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt. I'm just clear. You chose to erase me because I didn't fit the image you wanted. That choice taught me that I can't be myself around you without being a liability. That's not a relationship. That's a performance. If you want to rebuild something, it has to be based on truth. Not the truth where you apologize and I forgive and we pretend this didn't happen. The truth where you actually change how you see me, how you talk about me, how you include me. I need to see different behavior over time. Not promises, not explanations, just different choices made consistently when it's inconvenient. I don't know if you're capable of that, but I'm willing to wait and see. I love you. I always have. But love without respect is just sentiment. And right now, you don't respect me enough to risk your social standing for my dignity. Prove me wrong. Dad, I mailed it the next morning. 6 months passed. Radio silence. I lived my life. Expanded my landscaping business. Started teaching woodworking classes at the community center. Spent holidays with Linda and Frank and the chosen family I'd built. Then, on a Tuesday, Ashley showed up. No call, no warning, just knocked on my door at 3 in the afternoon. She looked different, thinner, tired, but her eyes were clearer than I'd seen in years. Hi, Dad. Ashley, can I come in? I stepped aside. She entered slowly, looking around like she was seeing the place for the first time. Coffee? I offered. Please. We sat at the kitchen table. The same table where she'd done homework, where we'd had countless dinners, where Maria and I had told her we were divorcing. I've been in therapy, she said finally, for 6 months. Twice a week. I waited. The therapist asked me to make a list of times I felt like myself. Really myself. Not performing. You know what all the memories had in common? What? They were before college. Before I started trying to be someone impressive. Before Richard. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, showed me a photo. It was her in overalls, age 16, covered in sawdust, grinning while holding a birdhouse we'd built together. I forgot this existed, she said, but when I found it, I remembered how happy I was that day, how proud you were of me. Not because I was pretty or accomplished or impressive, just because I'd made something with my own hands. I looked at the photo, remembered that day, the satisfaction in her face when the joints fit perfectly. That's the daughter I miss, I said quietly. I miss her too. Ashley put her phone away. I'm getting divorced. I blinked. What? Richard and I? We're separating. It's not working. It never really worked. I just wanted it to work so badly that I ignored every sign it didn't. I'm sorry. Don't be. You tried to tell me. In your way. But I wouldn't listen. She took a breath. The country club stuff. The society events. Richard's family expectations. It was all suffocating. And I realized I'd given up everything real to chase something hollow, including you. What do you want, Ashley? Why are you here? I want to know if it's too late. If I burned it all down so completely that there's nothing left to rebuild? I studied her, saw genuine uncertainty, real fear, not of social consequences this time, fear of having lost something irreplaceable. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if I can trust that you won't decide I'm embarrassing again when the next impressive opportunity comes along. That's fair. I don't know if I can be vulnerable with you again. If I can believe that who I am is enough. I understand. But, I continued, I'm willing to try, slowly, with boundaries, if you're willing to do the work. Her eyes filled with tears. What work? Therapy. Together with a family counselor. Regular visits where we actually talk, not just perform normalcy. Honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. And time. Lots of time to prove that this change is real. I'll do it, she said immediately. All of it, however long it takes. And if Richard's family still has expectations, if your next partner wants you to present a certain image, then they're not my family, and they're not my partner. I wanted to believe her, but belief requires evidence. Prove it, I said. Not with words, with choices. She nodded. How do I start? Tell me something true, something you've never said because it didn't fit the image. Ashley was quiet for a long time. Then, I hate my job. The corporate consulting thing. It pays well and sounds impressive, but I spend every day pretending to care about optimizing profits for companies that don't need more profits. It makes me feel empty. What would you rather do? I don't know. Something real. Something where I make things or help people. Or at least don't feel like I'm selling my soul 8 hours a day. That's a start. We talked for 3 hours. Really talked. Maybe for the first time in years. She told me about her marriage falling apart, about the loneliness of her carefully curated life, about waking up and not recognizing herself. I told her about the months after the wedding, the silence, the grief, the slow process of rebuilding my sense of self. When she left, she hugged me. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'm your father. That's not how it works. Some fathers would have. Then they wouldn't be doing it right. The next weeks were tentative. She texted regularly. Nothing big, just checking in, sharing thoughts, asking about my day. We met for coffee once a week, started family therapy. The therapist was good, made us do exercises in honesty, in sitting with discomfort, asked hard questions like, "What do you need from each other?" and "What are you afraid of?" Ashley was afraid I'd never fully forgive her. I was afraid she'd revert to the person she'd become. Both fears are valid, the therapist said. Reconciliation isn't about erasing fear, it's about building trust despite fear. Slowly, something shifted. Ashley started calling me when she had bad days, not just good ones. Invited me to Sunday dinners at her new apartment, the modest one she'd rented after leaving Richard's mansion. She wore jeans more, laughed easier, started volunteering at a women's shelter, helping with their building maintenance. "Remember when you taught me to fix a leaky faucet?" she asked one Sunday. "You were 12. You complained the entire time. I use that skill twice a week now. The shelter's old. Everything breaks. Yesterday, I replaced a toilet handle. Pride swelled in my chest." "Yeah?" "Yeah. And I thought of you. Thought about how you always said, work isn't dignified or undignified. It's just work that needs doing. You remember that?" "I remember everything, Dad. I just forgot it mattered." 6 months into our reconciliation, she showed up with a box. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." Inside, photos, cards, drawings from her childhood. Every Father's Day present she'd ever made me. The princess crown from her 8th birthday party. "I found these at Mom's. She'd kept them. I want you to have them back." I lifted the crown, construction paper and glitter, held together with tape. "Best daddy in the world," she'd written on it in crayon. "You were," Ashley said quietly. "I just forgot for a while. And now?" "Now I remember. And I'm trying to earn the title again, not as your child, but as your daughter. There's a difference. There was a difference. One was biology. The other was choice. You're getting there," I said. A year after the wedding, Ashley invited me to dinner. Said she had something to tell me. "I'm leaving consulting," she announced. "Starting my own business." "Doing what?" "Affordable home repair. Teaching people basic maintenance so they don't get ripped off by contractors. I'm calling it Real Fix." I laughed. "That's perfect. I used your business model. Fair pricing, honest work, no upselling. Think I learned from the best. Your business model. I'll advise if you want, but this has to be yours. I want you involved, Dad. Not as my ghost investor, as my partner, if you're willing. I know I don't deserve." "Stop. You're not earning back debt. You're building something new. If you want my help, let's talk terms. Equal partnership, clear boundaries, honest communication." "I'd like that." We shook hands. Then she hugged me. "I love you, Dad, the real you. Sawdust and work boots and lumber prices and all. I love you too, kid. It's been 2 years since the wedding now. Ashley and I run Real Fix together. We're not rich, but we're honest. We teach workshops, fix homes for people who can't afford big companies, hire folks who need second chances. She's herself again. Or maybe a new version of herself. Someone who knows what it costs to lose yourself and fights every day not to do it again. We have dinner every Sunday. Talk about work, about life, about her therapy, progress, and my woodworking classes. Sometimes we talk about the wedding. Not often, but sometimes. "Do you forgive me?" she asked once. "I'm forgiving you," I said. "It's a process, not an event." "That's fair." Last month, she showed up with a gift. A wooden box, clearly handmade. joints slightly uneven but solid. "I made this," she said. "Took a class at your community center. It's not perfect. It's beautiful. Open it." Inside, a framed photo of us from her wedding, but not one from the ceremony. This was from the parking lot after my speech. Linda had taken it without me knowing. I'm standing by my truck, and Ashley's in the background, visible through a window, watching me leave. Her face is devastated. "Why this photo?" I asked. "Because that's the moment I realized what I'd done, that I'd sacrificed the person who loved me most for people who only loved what I could be." I keep a copy on my desk as a reminder of what? That dignity matters more than approval, that you can't delete people who built you, that my father raised me to be brave, and for a while, I forgot what that meant. I hugged her, held on tight. "You remember now," I said. "I remember now. We're not perfect. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes she slips into old patterns, worrying about appearances, second-guessing her worth. Sometimes I'm too guarded, too afraid to be vulnerable. But we're real with each other. That's what matters. Real family isn't who you're born to. It's who wants you at their table, who sees you, really sees you, and doesn't ask you to be smaller or different or less. It's who shows up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Ashley shows up now, every Sunday, every holiday, every time I need her, and sometimes when I don't. And I show up for her, not as the ghost she tried to make me, as her father. Flaws, flannel, and all. That's enough. For both of us. That's more than enough. If you liked this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.